Hello, good morning, and welcome to A Light in the Dark here on Faith FM. It's been a couple of weeks, but we are back live. How you doing, Peter?
I'm very well, thank you, Brad. It's great to be back here with you and with our listeners.
Oh, fantastic. Now, I guess we should probably reintroduce ourselves. So A Light in the Dark,
It's almost starting all over again.
Well, the thing is, I guess we never know who might be tuning in for the first time.
Welcome. If you're listening in today for the first time, I'm glad you're here.
Absolutely. So today, if you are listening live, is Thursday, the 22nd of August, 2022. We are coming to
2024.
Oh, my goodness. The numbers just roll off, 22nd of August.
This is not a recording.
Oh, no. We are coming to you from the Faith FM studio in Ringwood in Melbourne. And this show, A Light in the Dark, is a show where we talk about how the Bible is relevant today.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, how it points us to God's truth, to God's light, and helps us navigate the challenges of Australian culture and the world and society around us, I think. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that's a succinct way to put it. And I'm here, with my esteemed... he's the real host. I'm the co-host, Peter Watts.
It's great to be back. It is great to be back. I have been away for a while, and it seems like we've been off air for about a month or something.
You're looking much more tanned than I am, I must say.
I have been in the sunshine, and we could talk a little bit about that. I was in the islands of Kiribati for nearly 3 weeks.
Now, for the uninitiated, where on earth is that?
Indeed.
I think I know where it is. But
it's in the middle of the Pacific. It's 3 hours north of Fiji.
Okay. To
fly there. And it's a nation of, I think, 33 islands.
Okay.
And some of which are inhabited. And the population of 120,000 people.
Okay.
70,000 of which live on Tarawa, which is the main island, which is where I was. And it's the only country that has territory in all 4 hemispheres.
I have heard that, yeah.
So there's actually a line in the Bible that talks about the islands of the sea and the 4 corners of the earth, and I sort of think of how Kiribati in that context. But so it was a fascinating experience to go and to meet with some of the beautiful people there and to share some of the gospel message with them. We conducted a series of meetings, 16 nights in a row. We baptized 50 people last Saturday afternoon in the beautiful waters of Kiribati, and it was a fantastic experience.
Have you ever been there before?
I had not been there before. I have been to a couple of other places in the Pacific. There's some different, lots of beautiful island groups in the Pacific. And I've been to Vanuatu before. I've been to Tahiti before. I've been to New Zealand before. Been to Papua New Guinea. But I had not been to Kiribati, as we call it, before. And very low-lying islands. They're some of the islands that have concerns about rising sea levels.
Sure, yeah.
Because the island of Tarawa, where I was, the highest point above sea level is 3 meters.
Okay.
That's the highest land above, and so
if you stand on top of a building, you'd be.
Well, that's right. There are trees. There are trees and buildings.
Yeah, that's right.
There are trees and buildings that are higher than that. But the actual land itself, and you just drive down the road, and there it is, and 3 meters above sea level, so all downhill from there. But it is it's very narrow. So if people can picture, the way I would describe it is, if you can picture like a capital letter A. Only the sort of crossbar goes down to the bottom, so it's a triangle. And you have the right hand angle and the bottom angle, but the one on the left is not there. Excepting that there is a line of reef there. So there's a coral reef on that sort of part of the triangle.
This picture's getting more and more complicated.
More complicated. And so the water within that triangle would be called the lagoon. And outside of that, you have the Pacific Ocean, and so It was a place where there was significant battle there in World War II.
Okay.
The
Yep.
Japanese occupied the islands, and there are World War II battlements
Yeah. Right.
there from the Japanese. And that's unusual for me because usually I go to places where there are
See
military
American
armaments.
installations
Yeah,
and,
Western military armaments, from World War II or whatever. But these were actually Japanese armaments, and the Americans came and pushed them, recovered the islands, if you like, in World War II. So there was significant battle there. But yeah, lovely people there. We had a wonderful time there. Great baptism there on Saturday. And finally left there on Monday morning, overnight in Fiji, and back here Tuesday.
Oh, overnight in Fiji. Oh,
Overnight.
Can't think of anything.
Yeah, well, sadly, I didn't. I'd never been to Fiji before, and
Okay.
so that was my first trip to Fiji, which is actually just a stopover.
Oh, no.
And I would love to explore that island. Maybe some of our listeners have been to Fiji, but
Yeah.
I had not before. So
Well, 0488 808 31. Have you been to Kiribati?
yeah, that's right. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I actually met a couple of people who had been before. So one of the people who attends our church had said, "Oh, I went to Kiribati about 20 years ago as a teacher or something there for a few months."
Yep.
So it was nice to talk to her about that. And then I also was sharing at my church I think it was the last Sabbath before I left, actually.
Okay.
And there was an educating administrator who I think was based out of Fiji and went there, I think, pretty much once a quarter or something like that.
Right.
But had been there several times and was not actually so much on the island I was on, but on a different island where we have a school there.
Okay.
We do not have a school on the island of Tarawa, but they had a school on a different island. So I also, as well as conducting a 16-part evangelistic series in the evening called Searching for Certainty, we also did some training meetings, training in evangelistic training meetings for ministers and administrators from Monday to Thursday for the 2 weeks as well. So that was great as well. And these ministers were from, across the islands of Kiribati, so they're there this week as well.
Yep.
And then they will go back to their own islands, to their families, and continue to ministry there.
So for you, as someone who's lived in the UK, you've lived in Australia, what was the thing that stood out to you most as being quite different?
So, yes, I suppose the lack of land
Okay,
is the big thing because, when I was describing that sort of shape of the island, it's really one main road from the airport all the way to the end of the island.
Yeah.
And there's it's a 40 kilometre an hour speed limit for most of the place.
Yep.
And every 300 metres you've got a speed bump. So they keep you
Not in a hurry.
Nobody's in a hurry there. And it was mainly, the fact that you're surrounded by water a lot of the time. And so some areas it's very narrow, so you've got just the road and a causeway and see either side. What else? I guess everything comes in by shipping container.
Do they grow much there or not really?
So in terms of is the answer. The fishing is the thing.
Of course.
Fishing is the thing. I was talking to the pastors there and pretty much they live off rice and fish.
I was going to say, you probably have the sort of rice, coconut and fish curry.
Yep. So they have coconut and they have bananas there that grow there.
Yep.
The little ones, the little sweet banana, very sweet bananas. And but not a lot of other fruit there. In terms of animals, there's a lot of stray dogs there.
Yep.
Not as many stray cats. There's some domestic pigs and chooks.
Yep.
That was mainly the wildlife, and you could hear the chooks going. That they didn't have an alarm clock because they were crowing in the morning. They were crowing all times. Not so many birds there. I saw some birds. I saw tern. I think they looked like terns.
Yep.
Some black terns and some white terns, but I didn't see any other kind of bird other than the chooks.
What are we talking temperature-wise?
Temperature-wise, so it was 31, 32 every day in the shade.
Oh, wow, okay.
And 27 at night.
So not a huge amount of variation. I
Not
guess.
I was surprised at
You're on
that.
the equator.
Yeah,
or,
where you are. You're
you'd
pretty
have
much.
to
In fact, it's just where I was just crept into the northern hemisphere.
Ah.
So I was in the northern hemisphere. And yeah, the islands spread across east, west, north, and south. And in fact, I mean, I was talking to one of the ministers there, and they were saying that Kiribati is the largest producer of fish in the Pacific.
Wow.
Which
Okay.
I could believe because they cover a massive water territory.
Yep.
And so what would happen is they have local fishermen go out in boats, get fish every day,
Yep.
and then there was about half a dozen huge ships
Yep.
anchored off the bay
yeah,
where
yeah.
they would gather their fish, go and dump them in there, as it were, and when those big boats are full, they go off and process them in China or
Wherever.
somewhere else in Southeast Asia. So that's and that is of course the main industry for the islands. So yeah, very fascinating.
It's always really interesting learning about, places that are very different
absolutely.
to where we come from, I think.
Correct. It's just a different lifestyle, completely different culture, and you're sort of trying to, get used to it. And also, obviously, we probably don't think about this as much as well. It's like being in a culture where you're the odd person out. As I'm a migrant to Australia, but I see plenty of people who are like me because, I'm a white Englishman. But at the same time, you go to some place, I've been to India, I've been to Papua New Guinea, I've been now to Kiribati, and where almost everybody there is of the one culture, but you are different. And it's a good experience to have, actually, because it helps you appreciate what migrants face in other places where they go. You sort of start to look for the things that you have in common and
Nice.
build the relationship.
I like it. Really interesting stuff. You are listening to A Light in the Dark here on Faith FM. We're going to hear now Tad Worku with Brighter Day. We'll be back in just a few minutes' time.
When will the morning bring us light? When will the darkness lose the fight? When will the toil and the trouble disappear? Tell me, is it near? When will the orphan find a home? Never again, no, be alone. When will the fear of the darkness disappear? Tell me, is it near? Rise and shine, get ready. Lift your head up to the sky. Pain is for a moment. In the morning, yes, you'll fly. And don't you give up hope now, even when the words are hard to pray. 'Cause soon and very soon there will come a brighter day. When will the morning never end? And when will the teardrops of a friend? When will we smile and with laughter start to clear? Tell me, is it near? And when will the Father be the Son? Light of the world, Jesus the one. And when will the cloud of his glory full appear? Tell me, is it near? Rise and shine, get ready. Lift your head Lift your head up to the sky. Pain is for a moment. In the morning, yes, you'll fly. Don't you give up hope now, even when the words are hard to pray. Soon and very soon, there will come a brighter day. Rise and shine, get ready. Lift your head up to the sky. Pain is for a moment. In the morning, yes, you'll fly. Don't you give up hope now, even when the words are hard to pray. Soon and very soon, there will come a brighter day. Soon and very soon, there will come a brighter day.
Welcome back to A Light in the Dark here on Faith FM. You just heard Tad Worku with Brighter Day. That's a single from him. Fantastic. We are here having a bit of a chat about Kiribati, a really interesting place that maybe the average Australian doesn't actually think that much about in their day-to-day ongoings, and maybe even more so than some of the other Pacific islands that we might know a bit more about, like Fiji or Samoa or the Cook Islands.
Well, that's right. It's actually interesting because I was talking to an administrator whom I bumped into in Fiji.
Yep.
So I bumped into Wayne Krause.
Yep.
He was he'd just finished some work at Fulton College there, and got talking to him, and he was saying, "Oh, actually, I've never been to Kiribati, And so I've talked to other administrators who've worked in the Pacific and been out to different places, but it's one of those. It is one of those faraway places, very remote in terms of the rest of the world, I suppose. And I want to issue a disclaimer before we go anywhere further in this conversation, because I'm always conscious of, I've been there a little under 3 weeks.
Yep.
And these are kind of impressions, as opposed to facts.
Yeah, I get you.
And or things gleaned in the 3 weeks that I'm there, and I'm always conscious of people saying, "Well, he's the 3 week expert."
Yeah,
That's not the case. I'm simply sharing my experience there, which was a very good one.
Well, we can set it off by saying, would you encourage anyone who's interested to visit? Well, there you go.
I would.
So,
and I think,
mean,
one of the sad things I think that I noticed that were there, you said, what did you notice there? Is, from a distance, it's this absolutely incredible beauty of the sand and the sea, and within the lagoon, of course, what happens is as the tide comes in and the tide goes out, as it goes out, the water becomes shallower and shallower until it exposes the sand.
Yep.
And so, and then as it comes in, it gets, deeper and so forth. And that deepening and shallowing of the water gives you a different shade of turquoise or blue or, it's very beautiful in that regard. But one of the challenges is the pollution or litter, probably you would call it. I mean, you can imagine if for centuries as islanders you are living off the materials that are there, and you pull apart your coconut and you leave the husk on the ground. It's not a big deal because it's part of the environment. Whereas if everything's shipped in on a container from the West, it's all Western packaging,
or your plastics,
or all plastics and what have you, and then that get discarded and it's all around. I mean, there isn't a beach, there isn't a part of the greenery that isn't contaminated with litter or garbage, and that was discouraging, I think.
Sure.
And it's a place where where do you put your garbage?
Yep.
Because they do have. I did see a garbage truck, and there is a garbage disposal service, but I think it's inadequate for what they have. If you go towards the far end, the far west of the island, which is Betio, which is the main town, it's also the port. That's where the big ships come in and out, and very high density living there.
Yep.
High density like London, high density kind of stuff.
Okay.
Obviously not as many, but thousands of people crammed into that town, and I think that the waste disposal is probably not adequate for the number of people there.
Yep.
I mean, cars. If your car is no longer roadworthy or can no longer do the job, then the car is usually left on the side of the road, or it's kept on your property as spares for the next car.
Yep.
And so it's almost like every other house is a wrecker's yard as well. So that is it's a way of necessity being the mother of invention.
Yep.
When you have few resources available to you, you use what is available to you. I mean, I saw there was one of the petrol stations. There was a larger vehicle, because they have these large vehicles that you can pick up a container and put it on the back of the truck and what have you. And it was filling with petrol, but he couldn't get underneath the awning or whatever. And so he was out and they had a piece of plastic pipe that was 4 meters long or whatever, going from the nozzle into the thing. And so you're putting,
great.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
People are just using, that's the practicality. I can get the fuel in here and it's going to flow all the way down to there. And then other things that you see, especially around Betio, is, there are a lot of discarded 44-gallon drums. You take the top off and the bottom off, and you slice it down, then you flatten it out, and that's your fence. So they just use the materials that are available to them there. And lots of imagination in all of that kind of stuff.
It's interesting, because again, we have to, I guess for me, I listen to these sorts of things and I compare it to my specific cultural context here in Australia. And we think that we have so much that we don't actually have to be careful in terms of how we use things and actually getting the most use out of it. And even things like the petrol thing, we would never think to do that in Australia. No, that's too dangerous. What if I get in trouble? But, when you don't have much, it's actually a case of going, well, we just have to practically do it.
I think, and I think it's like, obviously lots of people jumping in and out of boats and lots of people jumping in and out of trucks, off the sort of open back truck when that was the, transport for many. And I suppose we have regulated our way. We're less adventurous, because we regulate ourselves to death, and we do it for all the right reasons. We do it for the safety of people and so forth. So there's a lot of that. And, it was amazing to me because you can get certain things. So you would, you'd go to the supermarket and you would see some things that you would expect to see and wouldn't. The other thing I could get up and go there. Believe it or not.
Nice.
And then, but you see, if you got through there, I would frequently be given fruit by some of our church members there. At the end of the night, they give you some fruit and some water or whatever, and bottled water. But the fruit has probably been in a container for a while. So in other words, you've got oranges and apples, and there was pears there, but they've been around, or they've been frozen. You know what I mean?
I remember my sister-in-law who grew up in Denmark, she's Danish, telling us that she used to hate mangoes growing up, but it was because the only mangoes they'd been frozen somewhere else, and by the time they had to pick them when they were unripe in order to get them there, and so she'd try and eat this mango, and you hear all the stories of her, I love mangoes, and try and like, oh no, I don't know.
I remember actually when I was working as a cocktail bartender a long time ago in the UK, in an American restaurant, and one of the ingredients in one of the drinks that we were making was pawpaw, and they had this canned pawpaw, right? And so you put that in and you think pawpaw, but then when I was eating pawpaw in Papua New Guinea in April this year, That was
it's
the best
completely
paw.
different, isn't it?
It was the best paw. I mean, I've eaten pawpaw in Australia.
Yep.
But the best pawpaw I've ever eaten was in Papua New Guinea. And it was just like, it was almost better than mango.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
it was just amazing to me. And I could eat that stuff all day and pretty much lived off it when we were there because people would bring it in and for us and, fresh off the trees. And so, yeah. But Kiribati, like I say, there's not a lot of land for you to grow stuff, even if you wanted to, really. So,
Yeah.
I
I just want to pick up on what you're saying, though, like about, when people would be, sharing stuff with you. Like,
yes.
culturally, it sounds like people are, willing to be generous. Then.
Oh, yeah. I think, Fiji has a reputation for being, friendly people there. And there were certainly friendly people in Kiribati. It was interesting because when we went to Papua New Guinea, we were in a gated compound with security guards on the gate and what have you. It was there was a sense that it could be dangerous if you weren't, careful.
Yep.
And certainly the administrators there weren't keen on us wandering around in town, even in the daytime, without a chaperone or, some kind of assistance. Whereas here it was a little different to that. These were, mainly very friendly people.
Oh, that's great.
And it was really nice, yeah. And of course, there's a culture of Christianity there.
Okay.
So, we have theological differences, between certain churches and what have you. But the reality is that the majority of the people there are Roman Catholic.
Okay. Yep.
And then you have, I think, Methodists and Uniting Church represent the sort of second bracket of most populous group. And then there's the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, and then the Adventists. And so we have a ratio there of one Adventist to every 38 people.
Interesting.
Which, by the way, is pretty significant when you consider, say, in Australia, it's about 1 to 400. So there's one Adventist for every 400 people, say, here in Australia.
I'm trying to think of what the the ratio of, Christianity and other religions are in Australia. I think technically these days nominally, about 60% of people in Australia identify as some sort of Christian.
Yeah, I think it's gone down into the 50s. I think Christianity is just over 50%.
Yep.
51-2%, something like that.
And I guess it's the difference between
no
practicing
religion
versus
that's right. Well, in terms of the numbers for Australia, that we had I think it was 38% said no religion. In the last census. So 51% of Christianity, so it's just still over half would say they were Christians, but 38% are saying no religion. And so, that's interesting too in terms of how that influences the culture.
Yep, absolutely. And when we come back from this song, I'd love to actually talk to you a little bit about, some of those cultural Christian differences maybe that you saw in Kiribati.
Yep.
Fantastic. You're listening to A Light in the Dark here on Faith FM. This here is the Nellens with Grace Isn't Fair. Be back in just a few minutes.
For all the hurt I've spread around, and all the people that I've let down, for all the times I just wasn't there, I thank God grace ain't fair. For all the vows I didn't keep, and all the damage that cut so deep, I
You just heard the Nellons with Grace Ain't Fair. You're listening to A Light in the Dark here on Faith FM. I'm Brad. I'm here with Peter. And we've been talking about Peter's recent escapade, if we want to call it that, out into the Pacific adventure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what's the term that they would use for like the explorers. You know, they would, I guess it was kind
Expedition.
of an adventure. Expedition. There we go. Your
That's the one,
expedition.
Expedition.
Out into the Pacific Ocean and visiting Kiribati. And it's all been actually really interesting. Peter's just been sharing, you know, some of the things that he found interesting being over there and what was different and unique and you know, equally things that were similar. And just before the break, we were talking a little bit about, I suppose, Christianity out there.
Yeah.
And, you know, it might not be a weird question to ask, you know, how does Christianity get to this island that's thousands of kilometers from anywhere?
Indeed. Well, I think, first of all, you know, how did people get there in the first place?
Right.
So it's actually, I was reading up on some of the history of Kiribati, and they were saying that Kiribati has been inhabited for at least 700 years and maybe a little before that. Mm-hmm. So that's not actually a long, long time.
No, really.
When you think of it in the scope of the, you know, history of the world and so forth. But ultimately, if you know, we are believers in the Christian faith, we're beneficiaries of the Christian faith, and we're purveyors of the Christian faith, and we're called Faith FM for a reason.
That's right.
But you know, wherever people are, that's where we want to take the gospel, the good news, you know, because first of all, because hopefully we have experienced the benefit and blessings of the gospel, and therefore we want others to have that, right? And then, of course, there is God's impetus in Scripture to say, go into all the world, and to take the good news about God, because it has a transforming power on people's lives. And people have seen this you know, across the world, but particularly in the islands as well, where certainly in Kiribati from the 1850s, there were missionaries going to the islands and bringing Christianity there. And the reason we do that, of course, is the benefits that the Christianity has brought to our own lives. That's certainly my motivation. I was an atheist who became a Christian, and the benefits that I have received on countless levels, really, the peace of mind that I get from knowing that there's a God who cares about me, the identity that I have as a human being. I'm not just an animal. I'm a person who is valued in the sight of God. I was made in the image of God. And that God has a place for me. He has a purpose for me now. He has a place for me in heaven. And, you know, we all want to have a sense of self-worth. We all want to have a purpose. We all want to feel like we have a place in the world. We all want to feel like there's hope and there's future. Every human being needs those things. And we were talking about before, we need food and water and shelter, and we all need love. We all need encouragement.
Connection.
Connection. We all need identity and purpose and hope. And God offers us those things in abundance. And so wherever people are, God wants this message to go. And so Jesus instructed his disciples to go into all the world and take the message. And we're still doing that. We are still doing that. And, you know, I'm not the first person to go to Kiribati.
That's true.
Many people have been there before me. I'm just very privileged to be able to go there and share the gospel with people and encourage others, really, and learn a lot myself. You know, I think, you know, as much as any other people might have been blessed by the messages that I was sharing there, I was abundantly blessed. And I always like to remind people it's very easy to sound good when you're quoting Jesus all the time.
That's right.
You know, so it's really the message and not the man. You know, it's not me. I'm just very happy to share the good news with other people.
And it's interesting, you know, I think how Jesus's message and the story of his life and, you know, the story of humanity seems to really resound with virtually every culture around the world.
Well, I think that's one of the tests of not only Jesus' appeal, but particularly the Bible's appeal, right?
Yep.
I mean, how do we know about Jesus? The predominant material is in the Bible. That's what without the Bible, we would be very limited in what we know about God. You know, from looking at nature, we can say, yes, it's very beautiful, but it can also be very deadly. And you know, we get mixed messages from nature because we're in a broken world.
Yeah,
Whereas I think that the Bible obviously gives us the picture of God. And so when I do presentations on the Bible called Is There Anything We Can Trust?
Yep.
We talk about the uniqueness of the Bible, that it is a book that has internal consistency, that, you know, it's written by 35 to 40 different people over a period of 1,500 years who lived in different cultures and at different times, spoke different languages.
Yep.
And yet they're writing consistently about things to do with God, whether the identity of God, what is truth, what is, you know, death, and all of these, what is salvation, all of those things. And so, you know, the fact that the Bible is read by people of different cultures around the globe and has been since it was written 2,000 years ago, you know, it's been shared with different cultures. You know, if it wasn't a God thing, you know, if we were not made in the image of God, if God was not sharing the truth through the Bible, and it's just a book, why should it appeal to every culture and every you know, nationality and every time period, and old and young and male and female? You know, why should it appeal so broadly to humanity? But if it's actually written for humanity by the one who created humanity,
then it would make more sense.
Then it makes more sense, you know, that this book, okay, it's a fit. It fits, you know, my existence. It fits my experience. You know, the Bible does not shy away from the difficulties of life and the difficulties of life on planet Earth. And so it speaks to the human experience. And that's what I found fascinating as a person who was not raised on the Bible. When I came to the Bible and I'm reading it, and I'm thinking, this sounds so up to date, you know, like it's talking about tax collectors and, you know, it's like, but also it's talking about the need for love and the need for kindness and the need for forgiveness and the need for care and compassion and the need for justice and the need for law and order and all of these things that are by no means no longer relevant. I mean, they're just part and parcel of and hope. You know, if ever we needed hope, today's the day when we need hope. And you know, peace of mind, the Bible talks about. So many people don't have that today. And we sort of, the further I think we drift from God, the more we create a world where so many of these, we create more problems for ourselves, I think. And so I find that the Bible talks to us in our Western secular Australian culture, for the most part, at least that's what, you know, when you think about the mass media, most of it is in a secular format. You know, it's not promoting any particular religious view or what have you. It's mainly secular. But and then, you know, you go to places as remote as Kiribati and you find that the message resonates there too. Even if they have had some kind of religious upbringing from one Christian faith or another or whatever it is, it's the message of the Bible that resonates with people, and particularly the message of Jesus, who is our Lord and Saviour, but he's also our brother. He's a member of the human race. He lived and walked and talked and ate and drank here on this planet, and gives us a relational being that we can really appreciate and contextualize God in a way that is more real to us.
And I like that. And I think it helps us understand, you know, when Jesus sent out his disciples toward the end of his ministry, for example, he sent them out, we could probably quite easily say, as missionaries, right?
That's right.
because their role was to go out and to share the story of Jesus' life, share what he had taught. And they were not doing it in the sense of, well, here's the checklist I need to go through and
Yep.
it needs to be X, Y, Z.
When you go to the shops, get this, this, and this.
Yeah, that's right. For them, it was, well, my life has been changed by my relationship with this person. And because of that, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to tell people about my relationship with Jesus.
And of course, you know, in a very real sense, those early disciples, they knew Jesus. I really know Jesus. And, you know, I think that our missionary endeavors have to be also informed by that relationship.
Yes.
And then
absolutely.
knowing, do we really know Jesus? Is he a part of our life? And so, they had a mission
Yep.
to the world, and that mission continues. It continues until Jesus comes again.
Yep.
Between his first coming and his second coming, he wants us to reach the world, and that is the goal. That is the task of the disciple, is to help make other disciples. And again, it's good news about God. This is the point. Life is fleeting here. Whether you're here or in Kiribati, I remember talking, I think the last presentation I gave there was looking for paradise.
Yep.
And we're talking about what does the Bible say about heaven. And I said, you know, some people might think an island in the Pacific is paradise.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
You
I was
know,
about to say that.
But I said, but I have seen, and from a distance, you might think, what a fantastic place to live. Wouldn't you love to live there? But I had seen the police cars, and I had seen the ambulance, and I had seen the hospital, and I had seen the pollution, and I'm aware that there is heartache, and all of these things that even in the most beautiful of places,
Yep.
where there are humans and there is brokenness, then there is a need for the gospel, and that's what we're here to deliver, so that the people have hope for today, but hope for tomorrow as well.
I like it. You're listening to A Light in the Dark here on Faith FM. Don't go anywhere, because after this song, we're going to be giving you the code word for today's great free offer. We'll be back in just a few minutes' time.
Where can I go when the storms of life are threatening? Who can I turn to when the winds of sorrow blow? And is there a refuge in my time of tribulation? I go to the rock, I know he's able. I go to the rock. Oh, I go to the rock for my salvation. The stone the builders rejected, I'd run to the mountain. The mountain stands by me. When the earth all around me is sinking sand, on Christ the solid rock I stand. When I need a shelter, when I need a friend, oh, I go to the rock. Where can I go when the storms of life are threatening? Who can I turn to when the winds of sorrow blow? And is there a refuge in my time of tribulation? I go to the rock, I know he's able. I go to the rock. Oh, I go to the rock for my salvation. The stone the builders rejected, I run to the mountain. The mountain stands by me. When the earth all around me is sinking sand, on Christ the solid rock I stand. When I need a shelter, when I need a friend, oh, I go to the rock. Yeah, I go to the rock. You can go to the rock. I'll go to the rock.
You just heard Bruce Burgess with I Go to the Rock from the album I Believe. Welcome back to A Light in the Dark here on Faith FM. If you're listening live, today is Thursday, the 22nd of August, 2024, and we are coming up to 12 o'clock to midday, which means we've got a few minutes left in the show. And before we go much further, I do actually want to give you the opportunity to claim today's free offer. And this is a great book that's called Unlikely Leaders. It's all about Jesus's disciples and what happened to them after Jesus gave them this mission to go out and share the gospel, the good news with the whole world. What happened to them? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Where did they go? What did they do?
It was an adventure.
Yeah, absolutely an adventure. So if you'd like to get a copy of today's free offer, this great book, Unlikely Leaders, all you need to do is pull out your phone, and today's code word is ALD42. So ALD42, and you want to text that code word to our show number, which is 0488 808 31. So one more time, the code word is ALD42, and you want to text the code word to the show number 0488 808 31. Now, if you've missed the code word or you missed the number, don't panic. We're going to share it again toward the end of the show.
Okay.
But one thing I do want to ask, Peter, when it comes to this whole idea of going out and sharing the gospel, because, you know, that's kind of what we think of when it comes to a missionary.
Yeah.
And what do we mean when we say the gospel? Well, we're telling the story of Jesus. We're telling the story
It's the good news.
Yeah.
The gospel means good news. And it's the good news about God.
Yep.
And that is best revealed in the life and death and resurrection of Jesus.
So who can actually be a missionary? Do you need some sort of special training? Do you have to go to a college or a university?
You need a missionary license.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are certainly, you know, missionary training institutes around the world.
So, who can be a missionary? Anybody, essentially. But obviously, Jesus invented church.
Yep.
Jesus invented church for the purpose of organizing in order to reach more people.
Okay.
That was basically what it was about. So, and also that we, because we had said no man is on an island, you know, no man is an island, that we need each other. We do need each other. And even if we like to think of ourselves as a hermit, I just want to go and live off in the woods on my own.
Yep.
Yeah, but somebody made the things you're going to need there.
That's right.
You know, we need each other. And God knew that. And so he invented church whereby we could work together, whereby we could encourage one another, support one another, and do more, achieve more together than we could as individuals. But as an individual, you know, I have a God-given mandate to share the gospel, share the good news about God. And we just have to remember what it is. It is good news, right? It's good news about God as revealed in Jesus.
Yep.
And so when we read in Matthew 28, verse 19, Jesus says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit." He's sending his disciples out to go and make other disciples. So it's a disciple-making movement.
And he's not just saying, all right, go to Judah.
Yeah.
Go to Jerusalem. Just do it in Jerusalem. He says, no, all the nations.
All the nations. And he does actually have, interestingly, in another passage, he does have a methodology. So he says, go to Jerusalem, and then to Judea, and then to Samaria, and then to the ends of the earth.
Yep.
In other words, go to the places where you are going to find good results, you know, people who are ready and willing and able to respond to that call. And from there you can go to other places and eventually to the ends of the earth. And
there's a good method to that methodology in that, you know, as a Jew, you have something in common with the Samaritans.
Correct.
The Samaritans would have something in common with the people living next to them
door.
that you might not actually have in common.
The neighbours.
And so it kind of progresses out in a staggered way that actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like it's almost a strategic plan based on love thy neighbour.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Like if my neighbour is next door, well, I can love them. They might not be quite like me, but I do know who they are. They know who I am because they live next door. And so, it progressively moves out from there. There's a passage in Isaiah, because I was in Kiribati, there's a passage in Isaiah 11, verses 10 to 12 that I want to read out, where it talks about God gathering in people from all sorts of places when he's gathering his people at the end of time. It says, "And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, who shall stand as a banner to the people. For the Gentiles shall seek him," that's the non-Jews, "and his resting place shall be glorious. It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people who are left from Assyria and Egypt, from Pathros and Cush, from Elam and Shinar, from Hamath and the islands of the sea." Now, when the person writing that was writing that, I don't know if they knew where Kiribati was. But the islands of the sea, there's a lot of islands and a lot of seas, and God wants to reach all the people that are in those islands. And then in verse 12 it says, "He will set up a banner for the nations and will assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth." And so you have the islands of the sea and the four corners of the earth, and to me that describes Kiribati because it is at the actual point of the four corners of the earth. It has territory on all four hemispheres.
I like that.
And so I was reading that passage to them out there. But of course, another motivation for us for sharing the everlasting gospel with people is Jesus talks about this in Matthew 24:14. He says, "And this gospel, this good news of God, this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come." So God wants everyone to have the opportunity to make an intelligent choice about who they want to govern their life now and who they want to govern their life in eternity. And like I said, as someone who did not grow up, reading the Bible and praying to God and so forth, it is good news that the things that God is offering us is good for us today and it's good for us tomorrow. And there's an eternity attached to all of this. And Jesus talked about, he came that we might have life and have it more abundantly now. And that's been my experience for 30-odd years. And so when you experience that, you want others, it's the loving thing to do is to share it with somebody else. I always equated it with, if we'd found a cure for cancer. It's sometimes you say, well, if you won the lottery, wouldn't you want to share that with everybody else? Well, yeah, but you don't want to lose your lottery winnings, Whereas if you could tell somewhere else where they could win the lottery also, that would be the go. But I think it's more like we found a cure for cancer. Only, Christianity is better than that because Christianity's found a cure for death.
That's true.
Which is what we all need, is a cure for death. Whatever we're going to die of, whether it's old age or whatever it is, the Bible has a cure for death. And it seems to me like everybody needs that. And so, there's so many benefits and blessings of the gospel, and God wants it to go everywhere, even to the islands of the sea, the remotest places on earth. If there are people there, God wants to send the gospel there because it's good news. It gives people a reason for living. It gives them optimism. It gives them hope. And it actually makes the world a better place, which is why we're doing this, Brad.
That's right.
Here on Faith FM.
So if we were trying to answer then that question of, who can be a missionary?
I drifted from the question.
No, but it ties in together, I think, because, from what we've seen from Jesus and from the book of Isaiah, God's saying, well, if it's going to need to go to the entire world, then everybody needs to be involved.
And like Jesus said, if you have two tunics, give one to him who has none. And that's sort of the same with the gospel too, in that if you have been blessed by the gospel, then share what you've been blessed with. So my wife used to say, "Share what you know, it'll grow." Keep what you've got, it'll rot. but God is not. We don't have to be university professors, to share the gospel. The gospel is shared in kindness. It's shared in compassion. It's shared in forgiveness. It's shared in love and respect. It's shared in lots of different ways. And then, of course, it can be shared through the spoken word as well and the written word and through the airwaves as we're doing here and in so many different ways because it's good to share. And so Jesus said it's better to give than to receive. And when we've received the blessings of God, that's great. But when you're sharing it with others and you actually see their response and you see the benefit that they gain from receiving the good news, then that gives you a lift, even greater than that when you're receiving the gift yourself. And so the answer is, who can be a missionary? Anyone who's experienced the gospel for themselves and wants to share it with others.
And, as you say, I think you're absolutely right in saying there's a huge blessing not only for the person that you're sharing Jesus with, but for you too.
Yes.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Peter, for, sharing a bit of your experience.
It's been I've enjoyed the conversation with you today, Brad. Yeah.
No, it's been really interesting learning a bit more about Kiribati and how it always fits in with Christianity, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's all about mission. It's all about God wanting to save people and to have a relationship with them today, but a relationship that lasts for eternity.
I love it. Well, listeners, if you are interested in getting a copy of today's free offer, the book Unlikely Leaders, all you need to do is text our code word ALD42 to our show number 048888 80831 and we will get that to you. Thanks for tuning in to A Light in the Dark today, and we will see you again same time next week.